All right, let's just jump right into it. Picture a total catastrophe, a situation where every single second counts, and one bad move could be your last. This is your survival guide for a high-voltage emergency. Just take a look at this scene. You've got a crane that's hit a high-voltage power line, you can see the electricity arcing, workers are scrambling everywhere. In this exact moment, this kind of pure chaos, your gut feeling, it's completely wrong. It's lying to you. And one wrong move here isn't just a mistake. Nope, it is the last one you'll ever get to make.
So this brings up a massive question, right? In a disaster like this, your first instinct is going to be to run or to try and help someone, to get closer to the action. But here's the thing. Every single one of those instincts could get you killed. So what is it? What's the one totally counterintuitive rule that you have to follow to make it out alive?
Okay, so what is that one rule? I want you to forget everything else you think you know for just a second. This is the most important thing. Think of it as the first commandment. Everything else we're going to talk about depends on this.
All right, here it is. No mincing words. Do not approach. And whatever you do, do not touch the crane. Not the load, not the cables, nothing connected to it. And here's why. Right now, that entire machine is live. It's electrified. But the real kicker? The danger isn't just the crane. It's radiating out from it, turning the very ground under your feet into an invisible, deadly trap.
So let's break down that invisible danger. I mean, to really get why the rules are what they are, you've got to understand a little bit of the physics behind this whole thing. This isn't just about don't touch the big metal thing. No, it's about navigating a deadly electrical field that you literally cannot see.
Okay, first up, there's this thing called step potential. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Imagine the electricity flowing into the ground like ripples spreading out from a rock thrown in a pond. When you take a normal step, one of your feet lands in a ripple with a higher voltage, while your other foot is still in a lower voltage ripple. That difference, just between your 2 feet, creates a path for a lethal current to travel right up one leg, through your body, and down the other. It's absolutely terrifying.
And then there's touch potential. This one's a little more obvious, but believe me, it's just as deadly. It's exactly what it sounds like. The massive voltage difference between that live crane and the ground you're standing on. You go and touch that crane and boom, your body instantly becomes the perfect shortcut for thousands of volts of electricity to get to the ground.
You see those rings spreading out from the crane? Those are what we call equipotential zones. A fancy term, but just think of them like the contour lines on a topographic map, but for electricity. The ground has literally become an invisible minefield. And remember that step potential we just talked about? Well, just walking from one of these invisible lines to the next is what sets it off.
And hey, as if getting electrocuted isn't bad enough, the dangers don't even stop there. Oh no. That constant electrical arc can create a huge explosion of heat and pressure. It's called an arc flash or an arc blast. And on top of that, you've got a crane that's basically a tank of flammable stuff. Fuel, hydraulic fluid, giant rubber tires. All of that can go up in flames in a second. All right, so we've covered the terrifying why of the situation. Now let's get to the how. How do you actually escape? This is the survival protocol. The exact step-by-step playbook you need to follow to get out of that danger zone in one piece.
And here is the absolute most important thing to burn into your brain. Your mind, in full-on panic mode, is going to be screaming at you, run. But running, taking those long strides, that is the single most dangerous thing you could possibly do. It stretches your feet apart and creates the biggest possible step potential. You have to fight that instinct. You have to force yourself to move in a really specific and yeah, a really weird way.
So, if you're the crane operator, listen up. If the cab itself isn't on fire, the safest thing you can do is just stay put. Don't move. But if you have to get out, say because of a fire, the procedure is non-negotiable. You have to jump clear of the machine, but you have to keep your feet pressed together like they're superglued. And you have to land with both feet hitting the ground at the exact same time. Then, from that spot, you either hop or shuffle away, but the rule is the same: never ever let your feet separate.
And what about the ground crew? Well, the rules are pretty similar. The goal is always the same. Keep your feet together to prevent that deadly voltage difference from forming. So you've got a few options. You can do the bunny hop, just keeping both feet together for every single jump. You can do the shuffle, just slide your feet along the ground, never actually lifting them up. Or, hey, if you've got good balance, you can even hop away on one foot. Yeah, I know it's going to look bizarre, but looking silly for a minute is a lot better than the alternative.
Okay,
So let's say you've made it out of the immediate hot zone. The emergency is far from over. Now the focus has to shift to the aftermath, how to secure the scene so no one else gets hurt, and how to coordinate a rescue that's actually safe.
Here's a number I want you to remember. 10 meters. That's about 33 feet. Think of it as your new lifeline. That is the absolute bare minimum safe distance you need to set up an exclusion zone. Nobody, and I mean nobody, gets inside that perimeter until you have 100% confirmation that the power is off.
And you have to get that message out loud and clear to anyone and everyone who comes near. This is not the time to be polite. You have to shout. You yell it. Stay back. Electrocution hazard. Don't touch anything. That one command, shouted with authority, is what stops well-meaning people from running in and becoming the next victim.
Now, if there are victims, the medical protocol is incredibly strict, and you have to follow it to the letter. First, you have to assume that anyone who's down is in cardiac arrest. Second, and I know this is the hardest part, you cannot, under any circumstances, approach them until the power company gives the all-clear that the scene is de-energized. Only then is it safe to start CPR. And when you call 911, you need to use these exact words. We have a high-voltage electrocution with energized equipment. That phrase is a signal to the first responders about exactly what they're walking into.
And really, this all comes down to one single ultimate solution. You can't fix this yourself. You can't just move the crane off the line. The only way to make this scene truly safe for everyone is to get the power company to shut down the line. That has to be the very first phone call that gets made. Period.
So all of this is about survival, but how do we stop this from ever happening in the first place? Let's take a look at the blueprint for safety, and more importantly, the chain of failures that leads to a nightmare like this.
You know, a disaster like this is never just one mistake. It's always a chain reaction, a whole series of failures. It starts way back with a breakdown in the pre-lift plan. From there, you get a failure to even see the overhead power lines. Then maybe you've got a spotter who isn't paying attention. The operator gets too close, and there are no simple visual barriers or goalposts set up. Every single link in that chain, every one of them, was a totally preventable error.
So, we've walked through the physics, the hidden dangers, and the life-saving protocol. The steps themselves are pretty clear, right? But the real question, the one that really matters, is for you. In that one split second of pure chaos, with electricity buzzing and arcing, and every fiber of your being screaming at you to just run for it, could you do it? Could you actually override all of that panic and remember to shuffle?